It's okay? Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then Chris will just do a quick introduction when he comes in.
Oh.
So,
Let's show you some, off.
Okay, that makes it easy. All right, give me an introduction. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Chris Barkin, and I want to welcome all of you to the William W. Hay Railroad Engineering Seminar here at the University of Illinois. We're very fortunate to have a special Hay seminar today as a result of our guest being here and being agreeable to giving a presentation. Before I introduce our speaker, I'd like to take care of a few housekeeping items. The first one is please take out your cell phones and turn them off or onto mute so they don't ring during the presentation. If we have a fire alarm, I would ask you to carefully exit from these two doorways and head to the nearest stairways and go all the way down to the ground floor and exit right at the end of the stairway. It'll be on the north side of the building, and cross the street and gather on the north side of north side of Main Street, and make note of who's next to you so we can use the buddy system and make sure everybody gets out safely. We're not expecting severe weather today, but if we were, instead of going outside, we would go exit this door or that door, go behind this wall, into the old portion of Newmark Lab and then go all the way down to the basement. It's a very safe refuge. I don't know, are we doing the attendance sheet? Okay, so those of you could please sign the attendance sheet. And if you did not receive a direct email announcement of this seminar but would like to for future seminars, please just add your name and your email address legibly. And I'd also like to welcome those of you who are joining us via the internet. We have representatives from the University of Maryland, Patrick Engineering, TUV Rail Sciences, Illinois Department of Transportation. I don't know where MoU's current company is. MoU is, so you can say hello to her. Bo Zhu from UIC, University of Illinois Chicago, Metra, Kimakata Rail, Michigan Technology University, Railstar Engineering, University of Kentucky, and Trans Systems. And those of you who would like to receive continuing education units for your participation today, please send an email to LB Fry at the address that's in the email, and obviously anybody here, same thing on the sheet is passed around. I would also like to ask the speaker if we get questions from the audience, if you could try to repeat them for the benefit of the people who are listening in on the internet. And Sam, do you want to announce happy hour? The William W. Hay Railroad Seminar Series is sponsored by the National University Rail Center here at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. And on behalf of all of us, I want to thank the USDOT for their ongoing support. It is greatly appreciated by those of us here on campus, as well as those participating via the internet. Since 2004, China has developed the largest high-speed rail network in the world. This presentation will introduce the development of Chinese high-speed rail, including development of their background on the development, summarizing the current network and its major technical achievements, comparison of its performance to other transport modes, discussion of the economic and social benefits created by HSR, and the effects on energy, environment, land, and tourism. We're very honored to have our speaker today, Professor Nie. She is professor and dean of the School of Traffic and Transportation in Beijing Jiaotong University. She received her bachelor's degree in railway transportation from Central South University in Changsha, her master's degree in transportation management engineering from the China Academy of Railway Science, and her PhD in traffic and transportation planning and management from Northern Jiaotong University. She's been involved in research on high-speed rail operations and management for more than 20 years and published 60 papers, 2 books, and taken part in more than 20 research projects on high-speed rail. Professor Nie teaches various high-speed rail courses, including Overview of High-Speed Railway, High-Speed Railway Operation and Management, Traffic and Traffic Safety Engineering. She is a member of the Expert Committee of the Ministry of Transport of the People's Republic of China, a board member of the International Association of Railway Operations Research, and a member of the editorial board of the Journal of Rail Transport Planning and Management. Please join me in welcoming our speaker today, Dr. Nie, who will present the William Hay Railroad Engineering Seminar, Developments of High-Speed Rail in China and its Economic and Social Benefits.
First, I will give a brief introduction about my university, and I'll focus on the relationships, the science and technology supported for the railway industrials supported by my universities. My university founded in the year of 1896. It's about more than 100 years ago. And in the year of 1909, we have founded the School of Railway Management. This is the original of my universities. So my university is the first higher education institute specialized in management talent in China. And before the year of 2000, the administration of my university is belong to the Ministry of Railways. And after that year, we have changed the administrations to the Ministry of Education. So maybe you can say that's the very close relationships for my university to have a very close relationship with the railway. And at the year of 2012, we have established the joint support MOU with the Ministry of Education and the Ministry of Railway and also Beijing municipal of government. As 2 years ago, when China started a creative project in the high top level universities, my university is very lucky to go to the first to enter the project we called the 2011 project. My university, I said, started from the railway disciplines. So the first first disciplines are very close relation to the railway. And then we enlarged to comprehensive universities. Now we have 14 schools and 3 other schools. Maybe you can see the fourth one is the School of Traffic and Transportation, and the fifth one, School of Civil Engineers. This is very special for us. In China, some universities have separate schools focused on transportation. They not belong to the civil engineers, but we have very close cooperations between these two schools. I would like to introduce the whole students. The number of students in my university is more than 25,000, and the faculty is about 3,000. And this is my school. My school is the most historic disciplines in my university, and about 108 faculties and about 3,000 students focused on transportation. So I think it's a very big schools focused on transportation in the world. And in my schools, we involved mainly 3 disciplines. The big one is the transportation engineering. According to the rank, the national rank in the year of 2003, we ranked as the top 1. And in the year of 2007 and 2012, we ranked the top 3 in China. And another disciplines we involved is system science. For many years, we kept the number 1 in China. We also responsible for the safety engineering. This ranked the top 8 in China. And many of my graduates work for the transportation industrials. For example, in recent 5 years, about 78% of students work in the railway industrials, and about 60% of graduates work will find their jobs in the transportation industrials. My universities have have about 44 platforms, in which two-thirds of them have relationships with transportation. Some of them are state naval, some of them are professional naval. I would like to introduce two of them. One is belong to the School of Civil Engineer. I think maybe you have more interested. For this platform, we call the Beijing K Laboratories of Track Engineers. And this university involves five fields related to the track engineering. For example, track structure, roadbed engineering, geologic hazards, and real transit land adjacent to safety control technology, or the last one is real disasters prevention and control on the fire or other severe weather conditions. Let's take a quick look at this experiment. This laboratory were involved with the structure, track structure, safety monitoring, and roadbed engineering, and safety monitoring, geologic hazards, and risk assessment, monitoring for bad weather conditions. And another one is teaching laboratories for students that belongs to my schools. We called it's a state naval teaching centers. In these laboratories, we can help the students to know the real world of the transportation systems, and to get some information and get some experience and do some researches in these laboratories. This is the pictures of these laboratories. The students take a look of the process for the high-speed railway traffic control systems. This is a very big platforms to show the trains. And in this laboratory, students can do a lot of experiments on computers. For example, this traffic traction power analysis, timetable designs, and station track layout plans designs. A lot of experiments the students can do in these teaching centers. Okay, let's take a look at the development strategies of my universities. We have set 3 steps strategies. That is, in the mid of these centuries, we plan to be the world-wide universities with distinctive features. These features, that means with close relationship with railway and other modes of transportation. Take a quick look at the railway industries that have we involved. For example, the Tibet Railway, the Haverhall Railway, and the high-speed railway, or urban transit transportations. Many of my researches involved the researches about the Shanghai-Tibet railway lines. That this railway is under the very, very serious weather conditions, but it's operated very well because this railways has more than 14 years of research technologies to support the construction and designs. And we also have many researches provided many technologies for the Haverhall railways, and also focused a lot of researches on high-speed railways. For example, the first one is the technologies about the jointless track designs, and this we solved international technology problems and process independent intellectual IP right. As the economic benefits of this technology has reached 1 billion, with personal benefits of over 1 billion, and a lot of and so on. And this is some project related to urban transportations. Also, a lot of research projects at the station level, state levels, and provincial levels focused on high-speed railways. I'm the team leader for this project, that is Traffic Demand Analysis and Transceiver Service Network for High-Speed Railways. I'm the team leader for this project that is supported by the joint support from the Ministry of Railway and the NSFC. A lot of research. And also, with the quick development of the railway technologies around the world, so many neighbor countries come to China to get training on different kinds of railway technologies. For example, we get trainings for the Thailand high-speed railway, and for the Indians for heavy haul railways, and for Mongolia, for Russia. A lot of international trainings on different. So I would like to take a look at the future of the development in my universities. We will construction a new National Research Center of Railway Trains and Safety Assessment is under construction. And another centers named National Research Centers of Rail Transit Training and Certification is also under construction. And the last one I would give a brief introduction is why I come here. I come here to discuss with my colleagues in UIUC to establish international joint lab on high-speed railway safety and operations. This is based on two schools of my universities. The two schools is one of the civil engineers, and another one is the schools of traffic and transportation. And the UIUC's minor party is RailTech. The objective of this international lab is a leading platform for fundamental theories and key technologies in the areas of high-speed railway safety and operations. And also, we want to extend this platform to an international education center. And the way of the operation mechanisms for this lab is open platform. We want to operate it with mega merger and win-win corporations. For example, the China Academy of Railway Science, in China we call it CARS, which is the only comprehensive research institute with multi-disciplinary skills in China railway industries, has conformed to join this international labs. And also, at present, that is the only one institute that gets the approval of the national railway companies of China that permitted to do cooperation with this national labs. And also want more partners to join us. For example, the universities in NU Rail and other universities. This is a brief introduction for my background of my universities. Okay. Let's proceed to the presentations. The title for today's presentation is the development of high-speed railway and its economic and social benefits. In 5 parts will be introduced in my presentations. In the past 16 years, the routine length of China's railway network increased year by year, but not increased very quickly enough. For example, in the year of 2005, the China is the railway in China is the busiest. We only have 6% of routine lines in the world, but we finishing 1/4 of transportation taskers. Especially in the main railways, in the coastal areas, are very, very busy. This is the density for the freight traffic. This figure shows the passenger traffic density. We can see concentrated in some corridors. Maybe some of you know, and from the year of 1978, China begins to the economic reforms, so the GDP increased very sharply. But from the year of 1908 to the year of 2003, during these 25 years, I think the government, the support from the government to railway industrials is very, very few. For example, we can take a look. During these years, the routine lanes for the highways, for the air transportation increased very sharply. But for the railways, this is the line for the railways. Very, very few. This figure shows during the past 20 years, we have a great investment on road transportation, but very few investment on railway. Only recent 10 years, we can get some support to construct new railway lines. But even we haven't got enough investment, but the passenger freight volumes during the past 20 years increased very sharply. So I call them it's the difficult time for Chinese railways. Maybe some of the people come from China know 20 years ago, it's very, very difficult to buy a railway ticket if you want to go home in the spring festivals. Not difficult to buy a ticket, but also too difficult to transport your goods. For example, the railway in the year of last 5 years, the freight transportation finishing the 85% of woods, 15% of crude oil, 16% of coal sales by railway transport. This is the railway lines, Daqing railway lines. Is the busiest railway lines for transport coal. It's a dedicated railway lines for coal transportations. From this introduction, we can see China's railways is very busy, but compared to the compared with other countries, is not enough. For example, in the year of 2007, each Chinese people only have 6 centimeter railways. We call them a cigarette longer for each person. So compared with American, European railway networks, this is, we can look. So after 20 years, the government found the Chinese really need high-speed rail, really need to expand their railway networks. For example, you can see this is a very popular figures in China in the railway stations. It's very busy, crowded, and only 35 of freight transport can be satisfied. So without enough investment, we have to use the limited investment to speed increasing. So in China, in the past 10 years, we have experienced 6 notches of speed increasing. from the year of 1997 to the year of 2007. We have these pictures show the railway lines that have experienced speed increases from less than 100 kilometers to the speed of 140 and about 116 kilometers per hour. So we have politicized the system technologies of speed increases. During these years, except speed increases, we have tried our best to use spatial technologies on management and operations to increase the capacity. For example, this is a spatial timetable we used in that days. This is only shows the train path for the passenger trains. You can see this is a timetable, the real-world timetable for Beijing, Shanghai conventional railways 10 years ago. You can see almost in 1 hour, we traveled 9 trains from Beijing to Shanghai, and in 1.5 hours, we have operated 12 trains from Shanghai to Beijing. Very concentrated this time period, because this kind of timetables can provide more capacities. So when I introduced these timetables to foreigner delegations, the foreigner guests put up their hands and asked me, why Chinese people like to go outside in the night? I told them they have no choice, because only in these ways we can transport more people. Because the other times we need to transport freight trains. So we have tried our best for the infrastructure upgrading and optimize the operation plans, but we still cannot solve the capacity shortage problems. So in the year of 2003, the government finally found we need more railway systems. So we had in the histories of China, we have the mid and long-term development plan of railway network. This is the first long-term railway network in China. So I call them good year is coming for railway systems. So let's take a look about the railway plans for the next 10 years. I just said these plans issued in the year of 2003, but only after 5 years later, so many provinces told to the central government, we need more railway systems. So in the years of 2008, the plans upgraded. So in these plans, we have decided to construct 60,000 kilometers of high-speed railways by the year of 2020. But by the year of last year, we have finished. And we will construct 8 long-distance railway lines according to 4 corridors from north to south and 4 corridors from east to west. And after we finish the high-speed railway networks, it will cover 17% of the country's key cities and 19% of the populations. So the network has high-speed railway that we have put into operation really changed a lot of Chinese people's life, Chinese people's industrials, and Chinese people's population distributions. Let's take a quick look at the plans. In the year of 2003, we only planned to construct 8 corridor high-speed railway lines, not connected to the eastern air rails and some autonomous regions. But I said, after 5 years later, these people lived in these areas told the central government, we also need high-speed railway. So we changed the plans, upgrade, and add more high-speed railways to the east, to the west areas, and also increased a lot of intercity railway systems, because the urbanization in China is very quickly. For example, we can take a look. This is the intercity systems for the delta areas in the south place of China around Guangzhou. Maybe some of them have visited this place. So for these railway systems will be more than 1,000 kilometers. And another reason for the success of China is, as a parallelly, when we develop high-speed railways, we also developed the very huge systems for the urban transit systems. Let's take a look. Many stations has extended their subway systems and net rail systems. So it's provided very good public transportations to connect to high-speed railway stations. So it's more easier for the people to get high-speed trains by public transportations. Okay, after more than 20 years of research, construction, and operations, we have achieved a lot of technologies on construction, infrastructures, EMU, manufacturers. There's some pictures of the, and after that, some corridors have very have much more better conditions for transportations. For example, the busiest corridors from Beijing to Shanghai, we have 4 parallel railway lines. One is the conventional railway lines, and one is the high-speed railway lines from Beijing to Shanghai, and other 2 intercity railway lines. It's also with the speed of 313 kilometers, but service for the urban railways, for the city clusters from Beijing to Tianjin and from Nanjing to Shanghai. So along these corridors, different railways service different traffic demands. This is some statistics we can get from UIC website. This is China's high-speed railways. That is almost the total length of the rest of the countries in the world. So by the end of last year, we have finished 16 kilometers high-speed railways. This is the railway length that has put into operations in China. It has almost amounted to the 40.3% in total length by the year of last year. Okay, let's take a look at the operation performance of Chinese high-speed railways. Let's take a look at the ticket price for the high-speed railways in China. We have in China we have 2 kinds of high-speed railways. One is the trains running at the speed of 300 kilometers, and another is running at 200 kilometers. The trains started with the G, the train number start with G is the higher speed, and start with the D is the lower speed. For example, for the second train, for the second seat, that at the speed of 300 kilometers per hour is only 1.42 Chinese yuan for 1 person 1 kilometer. And the lower speed is only 1.31. Some railway lines is less than these numbers. Compared with other countries, for the ride for 1 person 1 kilometers, this number is Tokyo Japanese Shinkansen. This number is European high-speed railways. So compared to the other countries, the ticket price is only 1/4 or only 1/3 of the price to the other countries. Compared with the flights, if we set the ticket for the planes, for the air transportation as 1, the Chinese high-speed trains, the second class is only 14%. The first class is 17%. This is compared in other countries. But actually, the ticket price not very expensive in China, but because China is a developing country, so many people has very lower salaries, so they also feel the ticket price is high. That's the reason we have do some comparisons in China. In China, for example, from Beijing to Shanghai, the average traveling distance is about 500 kilometers for 1 person, 1 journey. So if a round-way journey is about 1,000 kilometers, that is from Beijing to Changzhou, it almost take 30% of the annual salaries. So compared to the Japan, so it's more expensive. So some people feel the ticket price. Okay, let's take a look at the passenger flow volumes. These 3 pictures show the passenger flows for the French, Spain, and Shinkansen. From the operation to the following years, it keep on increasing for several years, from 5 years to 10 years, and arrived a balanced number. For example, for the Paris to Lyon is about 20 million people. This data shows some high-speed railways lines in China. We can see, for example, from Beijing to Tianjin, it's only 120 kilometers, but only in the opening years, it arrived 21 million years. It's almost at the railway lines from Paris to Lyon. But now, it's doubled. And at the beginning for Wuhan to Guangzhou, Shanghai, Nanjing, and Shanghai, Hangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai is much more than the other countries, but it's less than the Shinkansen from Tokaido Shinkansen. This is the most, I think, in the world. But these railway lines from Beijing to Shanghai increased very sharply. Let's take a look. This is some sheets, some data for the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railways. We can see it's increased very sharply, the passenger flows. And we have calculated each year some railway lines increased about 13%. And this is the statistic for the whole year of 2014. Each year, in this year, we operated about 2,600 high-speed trains. And in the year of 2030, we finish in the 670 million passengers. But in the year of the next year, increased more than 200 billions. That is almost amounted the total transportations in China is almost 14%. 14% of passengers in China is transported by high-speed trains. And these 2 years, each year increased 13%. So many people think the Chinese people have so many high-speed railways, we can solve the passenger transportation problems. But no, the problems come back. If in the peak seasons, in the weekend, some busy high-speed railways, it's also very difficult to buy a ticket. Okay, please.
This is really interesting, increase in traffic. Can I ask, do you know how much of this traffic may have been transferred either from conventional railways or airplanes, or how much of this may be induced demand, new transport? Do you have a sense of that?
Okay, I will because the conventional railways is a mixed operation. We also have traffic demand for freight transportations. So from the year of 2008, the trains running on conventional railway lines kept the same. We did not increase the conventional trains. Even the traffic demand on conventional rails is very high, but we need to more capacities for freight trains. So the passengers increased. I think most of them. The conventional trains kept the same. The passengers kept the same. They increased high-speed trains. In China, the air transportations developed only recent 10 years. So compared to the railway transport, the total passenger flows for air transportation is only 300 million, but for railway transportation is so I need to check maybe same times than air transportations. I think some of them passengers transferred from the air transportations, but not many.
It's very interesting because what these data suggest to me then is that this is new transportation. This is induced demand in the classic sense.
That's true.
You've created new transportation demand as a result of this service.
Yeah. But for example, some railway lines, for example, last night I told you from the Guilin to Guangzhou, this railway lines is operated at the end of last years, because the travel hours reduced very sharply from 22 hours to 3 hours. So most of transportations passengers transferred from air transportation to high-speed railways. Especially this railway lines is only 200 kilometers, so the price is very cheap. From Guilin to Guangzhou is less than 200 Chinese yuan. So many people transferred from air transportation to high-speed railway lines. So this figure shows the increase of recent years for the passenger transport. I think, sorry, please. Okay. EMU, we call them, we have two types of high-speed trains. The train number started with G is running at the speed of 300 kilometers per hour, and D started with the character D is running at the speed of 200 kilometers per hour, but they all called EMU train. Okay. Okay, because in China so many high-speed railways, and many people ask me which one can benefit. So until now, at the end of last year, the government issued 4 of them. 4 of them can, if without considerate depreciations, they can be balanced. One is Beijing to Tianjin, the first newly constructed high-speed railway in China in the year of 2008. Beijing to Nanjing operated 5 years ago. Beijing to Shanghai opened 4 years ago, and Shanghai Hangzhou opened 5 years ago. 5 years. So I think just now I told you the ticket price is not very high in China, and we also will open more conventions, for example, real estate and some business based on the high-speed railways. So we can get more benefit, but this is only for the ticket revenues, the revenues from the ticket. So I think we can see more and more high-speed railways will benefit. And the investment for Chinese high-speed railway, different high-speed railways have different financial structures. Only give an example for the Beijing-Shanghai high-speed railways. This high-speed railways is the top level high-speed railway lines. The total investment is more than 200 billion Chinese yuan. The fourth, I would like to give some introduce for the contribution of the high-speed railways to China. Because of the more and more people use high-speed trains, so we actually saved a lot of times. For example, we do some calculations for Beijing, Shanghai. For the year of 2030, we use these formulations to calculate it. Only for time values, these railway lines can save 11.5 billion Chinese yuan. And for the this is high-speed railway 300 kilometers. And another high-speed railway line that from Beijing to Jiaotong is about these numbers. So time values is very obviously. This is the pictures shows after we finishing the network high-speed railways from Beijing. You can buy how many numbers from Beijing to your home cities. That is 1 number to 8 numbers. For example, 2 years later, the high-speed railway will connect from Shenzhen to Hong Kong. From Beijing to Hong Kong is more than 2,000 kilometers. It's only take 8 to 10 hours by high-speed trains. Actually, the pupils from Shenzhen, Guangzhou to Beijing. Originally, we think so long distance, not many people would like to choose high-speed train. But actually, more and more people, even 18 hours, 10 hours, they like to travel by high-speed trains. because I think maybe can take some scenery, can take outside, it's more comfortable to take a look outside. So I think more time savings for whole Chinese populations. For example, the newly started high-speed railways along these coast areas that have changed reduced the travel time from 11 hours to 3.5 hours from Nanchang to Fuzhou, from this place to this place, from 11 hours to 3.5, and another is very obviously time reduced. So many examples. Sorry. And some directly economic promotion. I take an example from Tianjin. This is the first high-speed railway we constructed from Beijing to Tianjin. At the opening year of this high-speed railways, the economic increased 16.5%, and the other increased for tourism, for museums, for some sales volumes increased. So because in China, we haven't many years of experience on operations, so the total benefit, we just do some researches. We have enough time to do these calculations. This is a research report about the high-speed railway will fuel the economic growth in related industrials. This report calculated 26 different types of industrials. How many poor coefficient, how many poor economic amount fuels promoted by high-speed railway lines. We just show it. You can see it on your PowerPoint sheets. After analysis, we found the obvious promotion for industries from high-speed railway is secondary industrials and third industrials, and also supported the new type of urbanization in China, especially adjusted the industrial distributions in less developed regions. More and more factories moved from the coast areas to the east, to the west areas. For example, this is Jinan West Railway Station. When the winter opening, is very few buildings around these areas. But after its operation for a few years, it become another city center. And the last, I would like to introduce some influence for the societies. For example, China's high-speed railway for the land occupations, compared with the freeway and high-speed railway, the land occupations is about 1/4, because in China, most high-speed railways is on the bridge, so they can save more lands. And the energy source, because my background is transportation, I don't know how to calculate this data. I just get this data from some research report. So we can take a quick look about the energy consumptions and the noisy for the high-speed trains, the emissions, and also the obviously contribution is the tourism. For example, along the high-speed railways from Beijing to Guangzhou, the cities which have better scenic place, the tourism increased very sharply. These two examples announce that Beijing Shanghai high-speed railway. The Chinese people knows this place we call the Trifu is the hometown of Confucians, and this is a city Wuhan announced that the high-speed railway from Beijing to Guangzhou. The local government reported the tourism increased obviously after the high-speed railway train put into operation. Okay, finally, I would give some conclusions. Even we have constructed so big networks of high-speed railways, but until now, the travel times for Chinese people is very, very few. Let's take a look. In the year of 2012, each Chinese people take trains each year less than 2 times. But we travel more longer because China is a big country and more longer. So compared with the other countries, this data I get from the UIC data we calculated is much more less than other countries. So we can get a forecast for the future passenger demand. If in the year of 2020, each Chinese people travel by train 4 times a year, and in the year we have 1.45 billion people that we need to transport almost 6 billion people by train. But now we only finishing 2 billion. So the other 4 billion, I think, is difficult for us to finish it. So the traffic demand. So the traffic demand we can forecast will increase very sharply. Okay, let's take a look for the timetable we used in China. This is the conventional railway lines for Beijing to Guangzhou. The conventional line is parallel to the high-speed railway lines. We can see it's very, very busy. So if you ask me to add one train pass in yet, I think it's impossible for me. So busy. So that's why the conventional trains we cannot increase. We have to leave more limited capacities for the freight trains. Okay.
What's the time scale on this?
This time scale is from 8 hours to another 18 hours. It's 24 hours. 24 hours. And this is 4 stations, 1 day. Yeah. So you cannot. So we cannot depend the conventional railways to transport the other 4 million people. And also the high-speed railways is very density. This is a timetable we use for Beijing South Railway Station, Beijing to Shanghai high-speed railway lines. Because in the night we need to some time windows for maintenance works. But because of the increased traffic demand, so in China, on high-speed railway lines, in this year, we started overnight high-speed trains from Guangzhou to Beijing. Each night, we operated 6 to 10 overnight trains. But you also find it's difficult to get ticket. it only takes 12 to 30 hours from Guangzhou to Beijing. So the whole night you can sleep on the train, and the next morning you arrive at Beijing or Guangzhou, you can start work. Save money, save time, so the train is very popular now. And also a big problem, because we have a very big networks. The pupils traveled by high-speed trains is much more longer than other countries. So the network cooperation brings us very difficult tasks to design the timetables, the connection plans for trains, the train service plans. This plans is designed by my research groups. We hope in 1 hour, in the future we can use technical timetable that provide more frequencies for different passenger ODs. Up to now, in China, in order to meet the traffic demand from long distance, so I have to operate a very long distance high-speed trains. For example, we operated high-speed trains from Qingdao to Guangzhou. It's more than 2,000 kilometers. So it takes, I think, heavy burden for the conductors, for the attenders, for the servers. It's long distance. But I think in the future, more and more people will use high-speed trains. The network operations need us to establish more frequency, more optimized train service plan, more efficiency timetables to provide good and convenient high-frequency services. And this were for my introductions. Thank you all.
We have time for some questions.
Could you possibly comment on the future Chinese high-speed rail policy towards the other foreign countries? Maybe there's some kind of collaboration with Russia or Kazakhstan, perhaps India.
Absolutely. We have begun this cooperation for trainings and for some design corporations. For example, last month, we have planned to do some cooperations, cooperation with the Russian high-speed railways from Moscow to the, I think, in the Black city near the Black Sea. It's about 800 kilometers longer high-speed trains. One of the consulting survey companies in China has begun to do the designing work. I think more and more countries will apply Chinese technologies maybe in the future, especially the neighbor countries. Did you know that in China we have have a plan named One Road, One Belt. So more and more neighbor countries were connected by trains, by the railways. And currently, we have, in Chinese ways, we have finishing the high-speed railways from Beijing to Xinjiang. At the end of last year, we recorded Nanzhou to Xinjiang high-speed railway has put into operation. So it's more easy to go to Kazakhstan and other countries, I think, neighbor to countries, to China. Yeah,
okay. If I understood your numbers correctly, you mentioned that a trip from Shanghai to Beijing takes about 30% of monthly salary of a person.
Yeah.
With that in mind, the high-speed rail that you are developing should be affordable for a lot of users in order to get most out of it. How does Chinese government or your institution is looking at the relationship between affordability and expansion of high-speed rail?
Does you mean we should reduce the price? The ticket price? You think but actually from Beijing to Shanghai, the load factors of trains is very high, almost 19% to 100%.
Are you concerned that the price is too high, that average person cannot afford to take high-speed rail? Or are you targeting to a group of people that they can afford riding high-speed rail without being that much concerned about ticket price?
Okay. I think this data I calculated about 3 or 4 years ago. In China, with the rapid development of the economy, the salaries of China increased also very quickly. For example, during the past 10 years, our salaries doubled and doubled. So in the coast areas, for example, more and more people think the high-speed railway ticket is not expensive. But for the east areas, some people still feel it's expensive. I think the situation will be changing.
Okay, well, our internet switchboard is lighting up here.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of questions from people who participated via the internet. So let me start with the first one. What's been the impact of the expansion of high-speed rail on freight traffic?
On freight traffic, okay. In China, most high-speed railways, the named passenger railway, the named passenger dedicated railway lines. They did not call the high-speed railway lines. The original purpose for us to design high-speed railway lines is to separate the operation of freight transportation and passenger transportation and freight transportations. But after it put operation, we found it's very difficult for us to realize it because just as you said, more and more passenger demand increased, and the conventional railway lines still need more and more passenger trains. So we have to keep the number of conventional trains on railway lines and to leave some capacities for the freight trains.
So as a follow-up to that, what are you doing in terms of freight capacity? Are you adding capacity to your freight network or your conventional network?
Yes. According to the recent plannings, along some corridors, maybe we will design another railway lines. We will dedicate it to freight transportations. It's under designing.
Okay. We have more questions. So this question is the 2003 through 2020 long-term plan only for high-speed and intercity passenger lines?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then...
But some of them, at the speed of 200 kilometers, is designed for mixed operation. But winter operation, we found so many passengers, we cannot operate freight trains.
Right. Okay. And then a follow-up question from the same individual is for shared corridors where you're running both freight and passenger trains on the same track, which I guess it's the conventional lines.
Yeah.
Do you have different track safety or track maintenance standards?
Different.
Different than what? I'm not sure I know either. Maybe he can clarify. But I guess maybe the implication is, do you have some freight only lines, or are all of your conventional lines both freight and passenger?
Only one we have showed that from the core line, from Jiaotong to Qinhuangdao.
Ah, yeah, the Daqing line.
Daqing, yeah,
the coal line,
Haver
yeah.
Hall lines, only one. But we have some local railway lines transported for coals is dedicated to freight transport.
Okay. We've got more questions.
Okay,
So the other question is, do you have any understanding of the impact on the development of the high-speed rail has been on highway traffic? In other words, have you had some people move off of the highways as a result of the expanded high-speed rail lines? I think that's what they mean.
That's obviously, I think. Yes,
sorry?
yeah, that's obviously influenced. More and more people gave up the driver during the, especially in the festivals, because around the big cities, it takes 2 hours or 3 hours to go to about 1,000 kilometers away. It's more easy.
Okay.
From the presentation, you mentioned as we can see, the high-speed rail is improving a lot, and you're carrying a lot of passengers. But from what you've been telling us, the air transportation is expensive and it's not as efficient. So, are you afraid what's going to happen to it at the end? Because in the U.S., because the freight transportation for passenger is not very efficient, so the air transportation on highway is taking over, and the railway is diminishing. So what do you think will happen to the air transportation in China?
Okay. We have do some statistic analysis that the average distance for high-speed passengers, train passengers, is concentrated in the mid-long distance. For example, the average is 500 kilometers. For intercity high-speed railways is less than 300 kilometers. So most of passengers concentrated in this distance that have very few factors on air transportations. So the statistics shows only the short distance freight transportations affected obviously, but more than 1,000 kilometers, very few affected.
We have, again, more questions from the internet. One is a clarification of the previous question. So what this person is asking, if more people are moving around the country as a result of the expansion in passenger traffic, or the expand of the high-speed rail network, is that somehow causing there to be more freight demand to move goods around too? But I think that would, no, I'll let you answer that.
Pardon? Yeah.
Well,
let me take a look. What? The internet.
So this question.
This question, a classification on my question about freight rail means if more people are moving around the country and more people can live somewhere else or visit other regions, goods and motorists need to move around the country, perhaps more. Has this generated an increase in freight rail volume and business? Okay, yeah, it's a long question. From the statistics, the real the freight transportations by by train is not increased obviously, but by highway is each year is increased very obviously. Because I think maybe the e-commerce developed very quickly in China, so more and more orders on internet increased this kind of freight transport.
Okay, another question. Is the current ridership and revenue volume generated by your network sufficient? I think you spoke to this in terms of covering the operating cost and maintenance expenses, but is it adequate to recover the capital investment?
Capital,
The
yeah.
initial.
Yeah, yeah. You say investment. Sorry?
Is the revenue enough to recover the capital investment as well as the operating costs?
I'm not sure because they just they did not include the depreciations. They did not. They only balanced the cash, the currency flows, and the cost of operations. Maybe if you include the depreciations, I think we cannot say it. It can earn money.
Another one. This is, I'll let you
It's
read it.
not.
Well, let's mow you.
Oh, what's your opinion about the California high-speed railways have already made a lot of efforts on it. Okay, also, why don't we use magnet trains for California here? Expensive. Okay. I think the success in China is we have big country, large populations, have a very heavy demand on freight transportations. So we need a big network for high-speed railways. In the world, we can see the success for high-speed railway is most located as the density areas of populations. So I think California also have the same situations. In American, I think if we have good designs, have suitable transceivers plans, and also consider the parallel development of conventions. So it's I think to earn money, to not lose money is possible. About the maglev technologies, in China, actually, I told you I have done some research on high-speed rail for about 20 years. The same situation for us, we have discussed about 10 years for we should use maglev technology or rear wheel technologies. But finally, we find in China, large populations for high-speed railway also need to connect it with the conventional railway networks. But if you use maglev technologies, it's not easy to do these connections. So I think the development for railway system, one of the obvious character is sameness. So if we use wheel rail technology, it's more easy to realize the seamless operation and the interoperation for the whole networks.
Very interesting for me to hear you explain that, because we knew that China was, I don't know, what, 15 years ago making this big decision, maglev or high-speed rail, and you chose high-speed rail. And I don't think I've ever heard that it was basically about a more interconnected network with the conventional rail lines, which makes good sense.
Maybe in the future, if the technology of maglev upgrade, some corridors also can use.
So even faster.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, that is sort of also part of the discussion. Is does maglev offer enough of a speed increase or time reduction to justify the even greater expense of maglev compared to high-speed rail? So
maybe I'm not. Yes, I have
the
enough
Japanese
research on this. Yeah,
the Japanese have obviously just recently made a decision on this, but
yeah, from Tokyo to Osaka. Yes, a new maglev rail lines.
we have one more question.
Okay.
All right. Bring the mic. And then I think we will wrap it up. The last word,
It's actually almost kind of like two questions. Can four-track main lines help on the capacity where you're still using less land space than building a separate two-track line, or do you have four-track mains? And the other question is about fares. Do you guys do yield management of fares like airlines and hotel rooms, or have you considered that or not?
You means the two parallel lines with double track? Pardon?
Right. Well, are most of your HSR lines, are they built as two-track main lines?
Yeah.
Or are there four-track main lines, or is there consideration for that?
For the futures or for currently?
Yeah, for now.
For now, we have used different double track, almost parallel to the common conventional railway lines.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's. I think it's easier for the people transferred from conventional railways to high-speed railways. If you find another way, the stations are very far.
Right. Like in France.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yield management of fares, like fare pricing, as compared to the ratio of the monthly salary. But would you rather do yield management? Have you guys discussed this or not?
Mount Everest, yeah.
Are your fares always the same, or are they more expensive at peak periods and less expensive at low demand periods?
The traffic demand or the
ticket price.
The ticket price.
ticket price, the same. The same. Yeah, yes. I think it's a problem for us. We need to introduce flexible price.
That's what he meant by yield management, yeah.
Yeah, this is the problem we will start it in the futures.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, thank you very much for a really interesting seminar. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all.
Appreciate such a great turnout in the middle of the summer, and we also had a great turnout online, so it obviously speaks to the interest in your presentation. So thank you again.